In the galaxy of Archon Prime, there was one rule that every species believed without question: no species can dual-wield. It was not just a tradition. It was a law proven by science, history, and blood. Every intelligent race had tried it at some point. 2 swords, 2 blades, 2 weapons at once. And every time it ended the same way: confusion, slow reactions, and death. Brains could not focus on 2 weapons at once. Bodies lost balance. Muscles fought each other. Warriors became clumsy, and clumsy warriors died, so the rule was accepted. 1 warrior, 1 sword. John learned this rule on his first day at the Galactic Combat Academy. He was standing in the middle of a massive training arena, larger than any stadium on Earth. The floor was made of dark metal, scarred by centuries of combat. Above him, bright lights floated silently in the air. Around him stood warriors from many worlds. Some were tall and armored like walking tanks. Some were thin, fast, and sharp-eyed. Some had claws, others horns, others glowing skin, and then there was John, a human. Compared to the others, he looked small. No natural armor, no claws. Just 2 arms, 2 legs, and a human heart beating fast in his chest. Many eyes were on him, some curious, most amused. A large Gralian instructor stepped forward. The creature was almost 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin and 4 heavy arms. Scars covered his body. Human, the instructor said in a deep voice. Step forward. John obeyed. You are new to the galaxy, the Gralian continued. So you will learn our most important rule first. John nodded. He already knew it, but he listened anyway. No species can dual-wield, the instructor said loudly so everyone could hear. Choose 1 blade. Only 1. Behind the instructor was a long weapon rack. Hundreds of swords rested there. Long swords, short swords, curved blades. Energy swords that hummed softly. John walked toward the rack. His heart was pounding. He had trained with swords on Earth, not in real wars, but in practice halls with teachers who loved history and old fighting styles. He remembered videos of ancient warriors, stories of people who used weapons not because it was easy, but because it was possible. John reached out and picked up a sword. The metal felt cold and familiar in his hand. Then he paused. Something inside him whispered, what if? John reached out. Ken. He picked up a second sword. The arena exploded with sound, laughter, gasps, angry shouts. The Akralian instructor turned sharply. Human, put that back. A Varax warrior hissed loudly. Is he trying to die? An Eldari student whispered, this is madness. John stood still, holding a sword in each hand. I can handle it. John said. The instructor stepped closer, towering over him. You cannot. No species can dual-wield. Your brain will fail you. John looked up, meeting the giant's eyes. Maybe your species, John said calmly, but I want to try. The instructor's face twisted with anger and something else, curiosity. Very well, the Gralian said slowly. You will learn why this rule exists. He raised one massive arm. Activate training drone. The arena floor shook as a combat drone rose from below. It was fast, armed with spinning energy blades, its red sensors locking onto John. This was not a simple test. This was meant to teach a lesson. John swallowed hard. Stay calm, he told himself. The instructor slammed his staff on the ground. Begin. The drone attacked instantly. It moved faster than John expected. A blade swung toward his head. John raised his left sword without thinking. The strike hit with a loud clang, sending pain through his arm before he could recover. Another blade came from the side. John reacted with his right sword, barely blocking it. The crowd grew quiet. The drone attacked again and again. John stepped back, sweat forming on his forehead. His movements were not smooth. His timing was off. His arms felt heavy. They were right. A voice in his head whispered, "This is too much." The drone feinted left, John. Blocked. The real attack came from the right. Pain exploded in his shoulder as he twisted, barely avoiding a killing blow. He fell to one knee. Some students turned away. They thought it was over. But John did not drop the swords. He breathed in slowly. He stopped trying to control both swords separately instead. He changed something inside his mind. He remembered his teachers on Earth saying, "Your body learns faster than your fear." John let go of fear. He stood up. The drone charged again. This time, John moved differently. His left sword blocked high. His right sword moved low at the same time. Not planned. Not forced. Natural. The drone's blade sparked as it was deflected. John spun, his body finding balance, where none should exist. The crowd watched in stunned silence. The instructor's eyes widened. "That should not be possible," he whispered. The drone increased speed, attacking from multiple angles. John's arms burned. His muscles screamed. But his mind felt clear. Two swords were no longer two. They were extensions of him. John stepped forward instead of back. He crossed his blades, catching the drone's weapon, then separated them in a sharp motion. One sword tore into the drone's joint. The other pierced its core. The drone froze, then collapsed to the ground in a shower of sparks. Sparks. Silence filled the arena. John stood there, breathing hard, shaking from exhaustion. Slowly, he lowered both swords. The instructor took a step back. The rule that had existed for thousands of years had just been broken. John looked around. At the stunned faces, he smiled weakly. "I told you," he said softly. "Watch this." Far above the arena, unseen observers recorded everything. The galaxy had just noticed humanity, and it was afraid. John's victory did not bring cheers. It brought silence. The training arena stayed quiet long after the broken drone stopped sparking. No one clapped. No one spoke. Many students stared at John as if he were no longer human. But something dangerous and unknown. The Gralian instructor finally moved. "Human John," he said slowly, his deep voice no longer mocking, "you will come with us." Two armored guards stepped forward. Their weapons were not training weapons. John felt a cold feeling in his stomach. He placed both swords back on the rack, his hands still shaking, and followed the guards out of the arena. The doors closed behind him with a heavy sound that echoed in his chest. They took him through long metal halls, far from the academy dorms, far from the normal training areas. The lights were dimmer here. The air felt colder. Finally, they entered a white room with smooth walls and a single table. Three beings were waiting for him. A Gralian military commander, taller and more scarred than the instructor. An Eldari scientist with glowing blue eyes and a calm, unreadable face. A Varix war leader, thin and sharp, his claws tapping softly on the floor. John stood in the center of the room. The door sealed shut behind him. The Eldari spoke first. "John of Earth," she said, her voice soft but heavy with meaning. "Do you understand what you have done?" John swallowed. "I fought a training drone," the Virex hissed. "You broke a law older than your species." The Gralian commander leaned forward. "No species can dual-wield. That rule keeps balance in the galaxy." John took a deep breath. Rules exist because someone hasn't tested them yet. The room went still. The Eldari scientist raised a hand, and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed John's body during the fight. His muscles, his nerves, his brain activity. "Your brain did not split its attention," she explained. "It adapted. It created a new control pattern." She looked at John carefully. "This is rare. Extremely rare," the Gralian growled. "Rare or not, it is dangerous." John looked at the commander. "So is everything new?" They did not respond. Instead, the Gralian pressed a control on the table. "From this moment," he said, "you are removed from normal training." John's heart sank. "You will train under supervision," the commander continued. Your ability will be tested, pushed, measured. The Varric smiled in a way that made John uncomfortable. If you survive, John's new training began the next day. It was nothing like the academy. The room was smaller, stronger, reinforced with thick energy shields. Cameras watched from every angle. John was given heavier swords. You must build strength. The Grallian trainer said, your muscles are not designed for this. At first, John could barely lift them. His arms screamed with pain. His hands blistered and bled. Every movement felt wrong again. He failed more than he succeeded. Some days collapsed before training even ended. Doctors examined him daily. They warned him about nerve damage, joint failure, and permanent injury. This is not natural for your body, one of them said. John nodded. Neither is space travel. But we still do it. As days turned into weeks, the training grew harder. They sent faster drones. Multiple drones. At first, John could not keep up. He was hit again and again. Bruises covered his body. He woke up sore every morning, but slowly something changed. His balance improved. His reflexes sharpened. His mind learned when to attack and when to defend without thinking. The swords began to feel lighter. One day, during a break, an Eldari guard approached him. She was young, her uniform still clean. Why do you continue? She asked quietly. You could stop. They would let you live. John looked at his hands. They were scarred now, because if I stop, he said, they'll decide humans should stop too. The guard was silent. You're afraid, John continued? Not of me, but of what this means. She did not deny it. The first real test came without warning. An alarm screamed through the facility. Incoming attack. A voice echoed. John was still holding his swords when the doors opened. The Karth had arrived. They were a warrior, species known for their honor and cruelty. They believed strongly in the rule of one blade. Their soldiers moved with perfect discipline. A Karth commander stepped into the training chamber, holding a long black sword. He looked at John and laughed. Human, he said, why do you carry two blades? Do you wish to insult combat? John tightened his grip. I wish to survive, he replied. The commander raised his sword. Then choose one. John did not move. The Karth attacked. The commander was faster than any drone. His strikes were precise, deadly. John barely blocked the first blow. The second cut his side, sending sharp pain through his body. The watching soldiers thought this would end quickly, but John adapted. He stepped inside the Karth's reach, one sword blocking, the other striking. The commander hesitated just for a moment. That moment was enough. John disarmed him with his left blade and placed his right sword at the alien's throat. Silence filled the room. The Karth froze. For the first time, fear showed in his eyes. The Grallian commander watching from above spoke quietly. This changes warfare. John lowered his sword. The Karth stepped back slowly. From that day on, the galaxy did not see John as a student. They saw him as a warning. Because when one human could do this, others would learn too. The war did not arrive with loud alarms, it arrived with fear. Across the galaxy, messages spread quickly. Military leaders spoke in quiet rooms. Scientists argued late into the night. One truth echoed everywhere. A human had broken the rule of one blade. John felt it in the way people looked at him. Not with laughter anymore. Not with curiosity, with caution, with distance. He was no longer allowed to walk freely through the academy. Guards followed him. Cameras tracked his movements. His swords were locked away unless training or combat was approved. John understood why fear always followed change. One day, the Eldari guard, the same one who had asked him why he continued, met him outside the training hall. The Galactic Council has summoned you, she said. John's heart tightened. For what reason? She hesitated. To decide what to do with you. The council chamber was enormous, shaped like a circle so no species stood above another. Light flowed softly through the air, changing colors as emotions rose and fell. Dozens of species were present. Warriors, leaders, thinkers, creatures. So old their skin looked like stone. John stood alone in the center, unarmed. A deep voice filled the room. "John of Earth," said the high speaker, "you stand accused of disrupting galactic balance." Oh. John lifted his head. "I defended myself and your world." Murmurs spread. An Eldari elder spoke next. "You have proven that the rule of one blade is not universal. If humans teach this skill, wars will change forever." A Gralian warlord slammed his fist onto the floor. Entire species were built on that rule. Take it away and chaos follows. John listened. He felt anger, but also understanding. Finally, he spoke. "When humans first left Earth, John said, we were weak compared to you. Smaller, slower, fewer weapons. But we survived. Why?" The high speaker asked. "Because we adapt," John replied. He took a breath. "You believe rules keep the galaxy safe. Sometimes they do. But sometimes rules only protect those who already have power." Silence followed. The Varric's commander hissed. "So you wish to teach your kind to dual-wield? To dominate us?" John shook his head. "I wish to choose," he said. "And I wish that choice for everyone." The council argued for hours. Some demanded John's execution. Some demanded human isolation. Some wanted the knowledge erased. At last, the high speaker raised a hand. "There will be no execution," he said. "No ban. No erasure." John's shoulders relaxed slightly. Instead, the speaker continued. "Humans will be watched. Your combat methods will not be shared without council approval." John nodded. "Fair. But know this," the speaker added. "If this power is abused, your species will answer." "I understand," John said. The war came months later, not against humans, but because of them. The Karth returned. It's time in force. They believed the galaxy had grown weak by allowing humans to exist. Their fleets attacked border worlds. Their soldiers challenged defenders openly, confident in their single-blade mastery. John was called to the front. He stood on a broken battlefield, holding his two swords again. Around him were soldiers from many species. They watched him carefully, some with hope, some with doubt. A Karth champion stepped forward, his armor dark and sharp. "Human," he said loudly, "you fight dishonorably." John met his gaze. "Honor doesn't keep people alive," John replied. "Skill does." The battle began. John moved through chaos. One sword blocked heavy strikes. The other cut through openings no one else could see. The Karth champion tried to adapt, but his training held him back. Every instinct told him to focus on one blade. John had no such limit. The fight ended quickly. When the champion fell, the Karth army hesitated. That hesitation spread like fire. Other defenders, Gralians, Eldari, Varric's fought harder, braver. Seeing that old rules could be challenged, the Karth retreated. The war ended not with domination, but with understanding. After the war, John did something unexpected. He returned his swords to the weapon vault. He walked back to the academy as a teacher. Students gathered. "From many species, I won't teach you to dual-wield," John said. Surprised murmurs filled the room. "I'll teach you something more important," he continued. "How to question limits. How to adapt when rules fail." The Eldari guard watched from the doorway, smiling. Years later, children across the galaxy learned the story about a human named John. About the day the galaxy said, "No species can dual-wield." And the human who answered, not with anger, but with a calm smile and two swords. Watch this.